Welcome back from that short commercial break. You're still watching Business Today. Now, moving on with institutional saving, the insurance sector has persistently taken on the initiative to promote wealth management and investment solutions. Finance experts therein have upheld the value of saving, linking it to a potential source of necessary investment, capital, and major project financing in the country. Uganda Insurance Association has thus emphasized the approach as a means of capital growth.
The CEO is putting.
Besides the customary insurance products availed for market uptake, the insurance sector has moved further to incorporate savings in its portfolio as an investment platform. As government envisions poverty alleviation through specialized programs, on the other hand, saving, though poorly undertaken, has been considered a viable step, and Ugandans are being rallied for effective engagement.
I've been involved in this project, but individually. But if they come into groups, they can save and get enough capital, and that enough capital can help them to boost their welfare, to help them to have school fees for their children, to help them to have food security in their home, and to have different projects that can push them business-wise and see them growing from one step to another.
Is that we are expecting, we intend that per every district at least we put there a model farm, depending on the interest of those members within that district. Like setting up an example, like within Jinja district, we resolve that they will be doing dairy farming, but alongside with the other small activities, other economic activities like poultry, like piggery, like improved farming in the sugarcane growing, such activities like that. But at least we shall be projecting one important investment per district.
Concerted efforts from both government and private players have been realized as the country pushes for private sector-led development. The Finance Ministry previously came out to discourage informal saving, just as the insurance players have openly discouraged the approach of non-institutional saving.
It will never be easy, but you have to make that decision to go down that road and be able to say, you know, I must start saving. And again, this is again focused on your strategy, on your plan and your target.
That savings is put aside before consumption. And what remains is what you consume. Otherwise, in our environment, if you want to consume, if you want to save after you have consumed, chances are very high that you may not save, because we know very well that the cost of living vis-a-vis our incomes may not leave any significant difference.
Speaking during the handover of the savings piggy bank to the Insurance Regulatory Authority by Uganda Insurance Association, Bank of Uganda was commended for such an initiative, though highlighted the bizarre saving culture that currently sits at approximately 9%.
And when we look at Uganda vis-a-vis our peers, we are still below the average. I may not say it is because of our incomes being low. Probably there is something that we need to do, and things like these, which have to do with actual action, probably will help us improve this ratio in the near future.
Statistics place Uganda amongst countries with the lowest saving to GDP ratio at just 9%, while African counterparts such as Nigeria sit at 33.9%, 16% for both South Africa and Kenya, and Rwanda at 15%. According to the Central Bank's annual report for the period ended June 2021, the number of Ugandans who saved declined from 18.1% in 2019 to 16.3%. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Now, yesterday we informed you about the KCCA Kasita standoff, as many businesses were shut down due to uncleared ground rate. Despite failure to hear from the city authority, Bronya Katsime managed to link up with Simon Kasiate, the authority's spokesperson, to understand the underlying factors for their decision and inhibiting reasons for their performance as demanded by the city traders.
Yesterday, KCCA took action to shut down several shops in the city due to unpaid ground rent, which raised concern among most business owners. To shed more light on that, with me is the head of Public and Corporate Affairs, Mr. Simon Kasiate. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So yesterday it so happened some shops were shut down due to the unpaid ground rate. What led to that? Were these people in know of that their shops are going to be shut down, or they weren't?
Just to put it in proper perspective, we closed buildings, not shops. Property rate is a levy that local authorities such as KCCA levy on commercial buildings operating within their area. It is a tax that's paid by the landlords. By the time we move in to close a building for non-payment, that is in fact our last resort. We have carried out several engagements, from joint assessments with the landlords, from bidding them, from appreciating their concerns, taking in their suggestions of a payment plan, in fact extending and giving them grace periods, and every other such modality that fits within the realm of basic decency and decorum.
Well, it so happens that most of the buildings that you closed down, most of these people that work in these buildings were complaining. They were requesting that, is there a way they can maybe work with KCCA or the government and pay this money or fees to you directly to avoid such inconveniences? Because most people yesterday happened not to work at home.
Tenants or business owners in these buildings have a commercial relationship or obligation with their landlords. The landlords have a duty or relationship duty with the government, or KCCA for that matter, on matters of ground rent. Now, if you want us to directly deal with the tenant and not their landlord because of a failure on the landlord side, I think you're asking us to overstep our mandate as a government agency. We know for a fact, indeed, that the ground rent is paid from the rent that these businesses or tenants do pay. If you want, I can even break down how we calculate this. Our evaluators go to a building, assess how much rent they expect from this building. They share that value with the landlords and say, we will allow you up to about 50%, 22% for usual maintenance of the building, the other percentage as a consideration for a time in the year when their building may not be fully occupied. And then it is from the balance that we charge the 6%, or that small little percentage that we call ground rent. So by the time a landlord defaults on the ground rent, there shows a clear and well-manifested lack of goodwill on their part. It is a pity that tenants enter tenancy agreements with landlords who negate on their own responsibilities to the state. Rather than appeal through the media, now let me use the media to appeal to and educate tenants to take legal redress in courts of law because they sign tenancy agreements with their landlords. And I want to believe that in each and everyone's tenancy agreement, if they are discerning enough, they must include clauses that give them recourse should there be such an inconvenience as the landlord not being able to honor their own obligations. The landlords will never bat an eye if they're going to close down a shop for non-payment of rent. So why should the tenants in there suffer as a consequence of their landlords not being able to honor their own obligations to the state?
Wow, that's quite absurd. Wait, that action came out like in a hash rate, was judged by the public to be a hash rate, basically the traders, whereby they were saying that these people pay their fees, they pay their taxes fully in time, but then also the services they get in return. They were relating this to the poor road network in the city. What would you have to say on that?
When we collect this ground rent and other taxes that we collect on behalf of government, trading licenses and any other, we do not keep it here at source at KCCA. We collect it and send it to the consolidated fund of the government. Then we also go to the same process of budget appropriation by seeking funding for us to deliver on the basic services that we offer this city, including and not limited to infrastructure development such as roads and drainages. Now, we, for example, in the last financial year asked for 100 billion for routine maintenance of our roads. And government in its wisdom gave us 26 billion. So out of 100 that we required, government gave us a fraction of 26%. We can only do so much with the available budget. So I would want our citizens generally, and traders specifically, to understand that when you pay money in ground rent or trading licenses, it does not come to the coffers of KCCA.
Well, speaking of the fact that you received only the 26 from the amount you asked for, recently certain funds were released, UNRA got its share, but then KCCA is nowhere to be seen. In a way that, should we think that KCCA is funded by maybe any other avenues? If so, you can let us know about them.
We receive money directly from the Consolidated Fund, and we also receive money from the Road Fund. All this is for specifically road maintenance. And yes, I'm happy to inform you that we recently also got a release. And if you have bothered to look around, and I invite you to do so using your cameras, to go around the city and see the incredible work that we're trying to do on fixing the bad state of the roads, given the available resources. We could have done a lot more if we had more money than what we released. But for what we get, we are doing our level best to fix what there is that's broken.
From yesterday's coincidence, it so happened that it caused so much commotion that for instance, the association, CASITA, they reacted, they warned, quote, I quote, saying if KCCA does not work well or respond to our actions right now, we shall mobilize our traders to stop paying taxes. Is, like, in your own opinion, do you think that would affect KCCA in any way?
We appreciate CASITA's frustration that you are paying taxes and license fees to a government to whom you expect full service delivery. And we as KCCA are awake and cognizant of this desire that every citizen, it doesn't matter whether you're a city trader, you could even be a pupil in a KCCA school, because KCCA runs about 78 primary schools, UPE schools in this city, and about 22 universal secondary school education schools. That if you're paying that paltry fee, if you're paying for anything, you must get a requisite good service. And we strive to offer this service within the ambit of the available budget. That's why, for 3 years in a row, for example, our health center in Kisenyi, Health Center 4, has consistently won Best Health Center 4 in the country. Does it get full funding? To the greatest extent, not, but we use the available resources to deliver services. So yes, we are cognizant of the frustration of many city people, but for them to say they will not honor their obligations to the state because the state has not honored their obligation to them to the fullest extent is a little bit of I would say, ill-informed decision, and would appeal to them to exercise restraint from acting outside the law, as we also strive as much as we can to ensure that we meet their expectations in as far as service delivery is concerned.
Well, for the public maybe out there thinking that there is a certain clash between KCCA and CASITA, in a way to sort all this, is there anything KCCA is trying to do, maybe integrate together with CASITA to make sure that businesses in the city are operated in a smooth way?
We have several stakeholders as KCCA, and I must inform you without an iota of contradiction that the Kampala City Traders Association is one of our most robust stakeholders with whom we have regular engagements, to whom our doors are always open, to whose concerns we find very important and we are fully responsive to, and they can bear us witness. Issa Sechito, my counterpart in CASITA, moves these corridors of City Hall like part of his second home, perhaps more times than he sits in his beautiful electronics shop on Loom Street. It tells you of the level of engagement with which we have. So that impression that's being created by I do not know who, that KCCA does not listen or is not responsive to the concerns of CASITA, is certainly one that you cannot accuse KCCA of. We continue in our engagement with them. We are committed to listening to them, as we also commit to educating them on their roles and responsibilities as we take feedback from them of our roles and responsibilities. Our relationship with CASITA is a very healthy one, if I must say. It can only get better, and I invite their leadership to always take advantage of the fact that we are in close working relationship. After all, they are Kampala City traders. We are Kampala City authority. We work in the same geographical space. We owe them a duty. We owe them a livelihood. And we know that it is from their contribution through taxes and others that our beautiful city grows. So we are cut from the same cloth. Nothing can separate us.
Well, away from all that, for the financial year 2022-2023, you managed to collect the taxes of 24.9 billion against the target of 24.7. What could have led to all this success, and how is the second quarter faring?
So when you hear people out there saying KCCA is an inept organization that is not competent enough to run city affairs, this that you've just made is a clear manifestation of how incredibly industrious KCCA is, that we hit and surpass our revenue collection targets. You're talking about first quarter. Now I'm happy to inform you about the last quarter, third quarter. We're now into the fourth quarter. In the last quarter, we collected over and above our target by 5%. So we collected to 105% in terms of expected revenue collection. And that's why we are unrelenting. When it comes to those who are not paying tax, we go out and pick that money. We present it to the consolidated fund, and then we leave the ball in their court for them to give us proper appropriation so that we're able to deliver services fit for a capital city of a country. Without a doubt, over 60% of the country's GDP is generated from here in this city where we have jurisprudence. And without a doubt, folks go out of their way to pay, and KCCA does collect, like I've just explained to you. Our appeal remains to government that can the citizens of Kampala begin to see that preferential treatment commensurate to how much they contribute to the gross development of the country. To answer your question very specifically, for us it's not a moment to just thump and say, yeah, since we've met our budget collections or our revenue collections, then we are tuli bashitalonyo. No. Matter of fact is we know that there is quite a lot of money out there that ought to be collected, and we will go to every length to ensure that we collect it on behalf of government, because government service delivery is on the basis of how much it collects from its citizens. Questions of whether or not we deliver services to the appreciation of citizens is a debate for another moment, but certainly in as far as appropriation of budget, that's not within our realm. Ours is collect revenue, and we collect it over and above target.
What sectors collected more of this revenue?
You'll be surprised. It is property rates. This is a concrete jungle. Every building in this city, to the greatest extent, is an income-generating building. Like I said, property rates are charged on commercial building structures, either as rentals for residences, rentals for businesses, or any other income-generating rent. So it is from those businesses that we collect the highest amount of revenue. So property rates contributed largely to the success that you see in our revenue collection.
Well, Mr. Simon Kasate, thank you for your insights about the whole issue. I hope with time this whole thing will be resolved properly, and let's hope maybe for the traders out there that maybe their landlords they'll have a communication, they'll talk together and maybe resolve some of these issues, pay the money in time to avoid all this. Allow me to take you back to the studio.
Thank you very much, Bronya Katsime, for that revealing and in-depth conversation with the spokesperson of KCCA. We surely hope that the two entities, Kasita and KCCA, are able to harmonize so that we see smooth operations within the city. Now, moving on with business today, let's now look at Africa investment growth. The French Council of Investors in Africa has, during a Paris summit, demonstrated determination on investing in Africa's mining and extractives industries. That is, as Africa retains great potential for oil and minerals that are much needed for global industries.
The forum brought together delegates from various African countries, including Democratic Republic of Congo, Senegal, Niger, Chad. They all agreed on the need of a new deal that would ensure a win-win partnership between African countries and foreign investors. Industrialization was identified as an essential pillar of African development, and several countries represented their plans and strategies to revive the sector.
Anthony Nkizo Kamole, the Director General of the National Investment Agency in Democratic Republic of Congo, highlighted the significant role of the African continent in global development. The DRC's ambition industrialization master plan, costing approximately $58 billion, is designed to revitalize the sector by prioritizing 3 key areas and will be carried out in collaboration with European partners. Abdoulaye Balade, Director General of Senegalese Agency of the Promotion of Investment and Major Works, highlighted the government's efforts to create the best business conditions for companies in Senegal. Delegates from other countries also presented their plans to attract foreign investment and promote local production. At the conclusion of the forum, a clear message was conveyed for a shift towards sustainable development and wealth distribution in Africa through equitable partnership between African nations and foreign investors. The event marked the beginning of a new era, of a new deal with Africa, where African countries are open to collaboration with international partners for mutual benefit and sustainable growth.
Well, there you have it. Of course, that report will usher us or will lead us to the end of business today. But before we do that, let's look at what made the headlines. To move on, I would like to implore you to watch on our YouTube channel in case you missed any of these reports at Smart24 TV Live. Follow us on our social media platforms, Smart24 TV, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the like. I would like to wish you a good evening and thank you for your company. I'm Nana.